for its first NRI virtual conference. So let me just directly jump into the subject that we've all gotten together to discuss, which is NRIs and their role in sort of driving the real estate market. Now, first things first, as we all know, we've heard jargon such as the new normal and work from home and real estate trends such as from compact homes, we are now looking at bigger homes, which was not a trend that was expected perhaps a year and a half ago. We are talking about extra rooms and isolation rooms in order to accommodate the larger Indian families, to accommodate work from home, and also to accommodate online schooling of the children. So as we see in the past 1.5 year, a lot of dynamics that come to that are associated with the real estate purchases and buyer sentiment has undergone a massive change. So my first question is also, why the southern markets? What makes the southern markets so very resilient? Because obviously a lot of especially the leading metros of Bombay, I'm sorry, leading metros of all Indian metros have undergone a lot of changes in the past 1 year, and there have been ups and downs. I mean, we went through the first wave, and then we've had a relatively decent sale period, especially a few markets such as Bengaluru and Mumbai because of the stamp duty cut. There were also a lot of developer discounts that were rolled out, and also the home loan interest rates were at a decadal low. So there were a lot of driving factors. Now that we enter, or perhaps we are trying to grapple with the second wave, one interesting lesson that has come out is how the southern markets have been sort of more or less resilient. What do you guys have to say about that? I would like to pose the first question to Mr. Gupta. What are your views on this?
Thanks, Viren, and welcome everyone. First of all, a very warm good evening to all of you. I really hope that all of you are keeping safe and healthy and your loved ones are good. Thanks for joining us for this panel discussion for the Times Property Expo. Pertinent question, Viren. So one of the key things, what we noticed, so this is the data which has been given by Money Control in collaboration with SS for Us, that across the country, okay, so I just want to focus on the data first because that will give you a little bit of background that how the southern markets move. So Bangalore as a city, followed by Hyderabad as a city, have seen the maximum revival. When I say maximum revival, I'm talking in terms of the sales revenue and the sales volume. Which was the pre-COVID levels, post-pre-pandemic scenario. And I'm talking about lockdown scenario 1 or COVID scenario 1, not the current years, because that is something for which we already have a precinct and a premise which is already existing. So Bangalore market has kind of revived close to 72 to 75% of the pre-COVID level, which is relatively lower in markets like NCR, which is relatively lower in markets like Mumbai and all. One of the key reasons being, if you look at two things, Bangalore, Hyderabad, these two specific markets and the southern markets, including Chennai as well, remains primarily an end user driven market. So when I say end user driven market, I mean people in these cities have basically their connects and the roots from their cities. So no matter wherever they are in whichever part of the world, they want to come back and they want a house or a property of their own in their respective cities. So it's more of an emotional bonding. Point number two is in southern cities, if you compare the average price per square feet or the average ticket size of a 2 bedroom or a 3 bedroom, it is still very, very affordable in nature. So if you look at Bangalore residential landscape or you look at Hyderabad residential landscape, the pricing per square feet which we talk about still moves in the range of 5,000 to 6,000 rupees per square feet on an average, I'm talking about, compared to a MMR residential market or a Gurgaon residential market, which has already 10,000 plus or an 8,000 plus kind of a market. So that not only gives you an affordability in terms of the money that you're going to spend. So basically it's easy on your pocket. Secondly, it also gives you a room for little appreciation. So basically if you're buying something which is at 5,000 rupees or 5,500 rupees, you have still some room for appreciation. And third part is when the pricing is on the little bit lower side, you also have a good possibility of the rental yield. And these are 2, 3 key drivers which specifically drives the NRIs to invest back. So that is my submission at this point of time, Viren, for the question which you have
All right.
asked.
Okay, thanks for that. Mr. Virendra Joshi, would you like to add something to that, please?
Sure, Viren. Sure. Firstly, good afternoon to everyone. So in addition to what Mr. Gupta rightly said, so all the southern markets are rightly priced. They are end user driven. A couple of things that comes to my mind are Bangalore, Hyderabad, and to certain extent Chennai are driven by IT, ITS, So there are a lot of IT, ITS professionals whose jobs were not impacted during the COVID waves, first wave or the second wave. So there was no net worth or income erosion per se. So they could still afford and make their purchase decisions. Secondly, being end user driven, it's a blessing in disguise because the developers and two of the large developers are on the panel. They know how to adjust to the market conditions. So there's not much of havoc. I mean, a lot of launches being just coming into the market when there is no need. So they will rightly balance the supply as per the absorption trends. So there's not much unsold inventory per se. We'll come to unsold inventory discussions, but
Yeah.
where a MMR or NCR, there's a lot of available inventory and in price brackets that nobody really wants to now buy, or in units
Yeah.
nobody wants to buy. So in
Mhm.
addition to what Mr. Gupta said, I think these two aspects also played a big role in the southern cities being resilient in these tough times.
No, and also what is interesting to note is that in the past 1 year, 75% of searches, online searches on various home buying websites, 75% of them are by NRIs. So, as experts of the fraternity, what is it that you think is luring the NRI investors back to, say, homeland? Especially during the pandemic, what was so unique about the pandemic that drove them to reconsider real estate investments and look at a market such as South India again? Mr. Arthur, why don't you take this question?
Sure, Viren. Thank you. And thanks. Good evening to everybody. And thanks for having me. Uh, my view is that COVID brought all of us closer to home, kept us at home. So the homes were dearer for sure. And NRIs weren't an exception. What probably was different for them is while they look back at their hometown, not just India, but back to their roots, we know that a lot of NRIs are from South, well educated, even enterprise wise independent, and they are happy to look back at India, both for their parents, their natives, their family, and all those who are here. We saw many people even come back during this time for health reasons and otherwise. So COVID, first of all, was a great leveler of sorts to make the world flattish and look back at your roots. Second is, I think when you look at your returns, they were able to compare that India being where it is on its growth curve offers a bigger delta still and continues to look attractive, especially on real estate and your property decisions. Between your investment and returns, when the world markets were a bit more flattish and with very marginal returns, I think India continued to show promise. Let's not forget, South continues to have that land bank, has the organized ecosystem. It isn't known for speculation as much as we have seen of larger markets. We, like Viren said, it is an end user market, which means there is a consumer who wants to first consume this estate for himself. In bigger cities, it's almost a dream to buy and consume. But in these cities, you not only use it for yourself, but you also start investing and after soon enough, enjoy the trade of it also. So as young as you come in real estate, even better, especially for housing. I think South India across has been homogeneous. The demand, supply, and price parameters are quite balanced. And I think what NRIs always love is an organized play, an institutional framework, and the ability to track these markets even while they are remote. And I think South offers that a distinct advantage that there are organized and institutional players. And one of those proofs in the pudding is really the private equity capital, which has chased. Most of it has happened in South India. And you must, our viewers would know, and most would agree, that the anchor for real estate at the moment over the recent years of the dream run has been the office sector. and office especially driven by IT. So when they do well, clearly retail does well, housing of course does well as a first beneficiary, and overall there is a overall economic growth in real estate parlance.
Yeah. And and also it's also sort of an Indian perception, because a lot of Indians have an emotional association with physical assets, and we also try to be driven by the cultural concept of ownership of real estate, because it inculcates in one a sense of security, a sense of safety. And the pandemic has been, as you rightly mentioned, Mr. Arthur, a leveler. And not only that, it has also re-emphasized the need of having a secure sort of haven wherein you and your family can be safe. Because I think for a lot of millennials, especially, this is the longest that they have been home, wherein the lines between work and family have sort of blurred. So my next question would be to Mr. Rao. What are your views on the growing trend of NRIs, and especially why the three key markets of Bengaluru, Chennai, and Hyderabad? Mr. Rao.
Vivian, I think you have answered before you questioned me. You were saying, the people would like to own a property in South India, mostly the cultural part of also the more secure. These people love more secure environment, secure investments. And I think most of us, we are talking about office coming to home. I feel it is not exactly office coming to home. It is home. All other things are coming to home and office now. After home, office will attract. Definitely, because these are fixed environment, daily used environments. Our office place is a single place where you go and sit. You're in command of the hygiene, health, and other ambience there. Your house is also, you are the commander of the house, so everything is in your control. So these two places are safe, healthy, and hygienic. So as such, investments will continue to flow into both these type of assets when compared to other assets where we used to spend time. For example, malls and multiplexes, now despite what the government will do, despite what the promoters, other promoters of investors do, people like to spend more and more time in-house and in office. So as a result, leisure industry as such, whether you call it entertainment, whether it's called tourism, all these are going to take a hit compared to this thing. So, but I am very much sure, because we cannot spend all the time in the house. We need a change in the environment. Office will be the next one to immediately pick up. So overall, and another thing is South Indian, I think GDP growth compared to other states is also higher. For example, yes. I see the demand in Hyderabad will grow not only because of NRI investments, but because in the rural economy is now going to throw up more and more surpluses. For example, the area under cultivation is doubling in Telangana. So overall area under paddy or various crops, it is doubling. So where will this money go? Ultimately, it has to come to an asset. And the first asset people are thinking is a home. So just like in foreign countries where people have a house and a vacation house, we are going to have such a trend in Hyderabad particularly, because we are seeing a sudden change in the rural economy and rural GDP as such. So I think overall, these things are going to help us. But I am very, very persistent and confident that residences will continue to attract more and more investment. Then offices will continue to attract more and more investors. Then other assets, definitely at the cost of other assets only, these will gain. Leisure industry as such, it will come to home only. We are not going to go out for spending money on leisure. This is my observation.
Okay, in continuation to what you just said, I would like to pose another question to you only, Mr. Rao. Is you spoke about how the commercial real estate segment is also going to gain more traction. Why do you foresee a trend like this? You think it's because of the unlocking of the leading states of the country, or do you think people are more than sort of willing to go back to office? What are your views on that? Or do you think work from home is going to be sort of a semi-temporary thing for a lot of Indian workers?
No, the flexible work environment. House also will going to be a flexible work environment. Office, see, we are all comfortable to in a particular space. For example, if we draw culturally, our parents would like to spend more and time in their villages. Even though we are giving more and more facilities in the cities, they may not like to come and stay with us, maybe because of the attachment to that land, their house or their properties or their relations. So like that, here also the first attachment comes to the house or residence, and second attachment will definitely come to office. Office is going to give a second alternative to a human being as such, not an employee, human being. It is like an alter ego, alternative place where it will satisfy many other demands apart from only a work environment. So definitely as a human being, we try to spend more, wherever we spend more and more time, we want to make that more comfortable. We want to acquire such an asset. Even I think the companies also will provide such a environment more and more better and work environment, whether it is in terms of spacing, more space for employee, or maybe flexible hours. For example, here we still have the luxury in India, I think, of working only one shift or two shifts. Maybe when we make it three shifts, we can give much better environment, working environment. Same office, same
Correct.
investment, but with spacing and physical distance, it is possible if we make it two or three shifts, or maybe short shifts, 50%. So just like in the schools also, they give half day schooling, half day work homework. Like that, we may work part of the things in the office, part of the works, routine works, updating, etc. You can do. A banker, for example, banking hours are only between 10 to 2 or 10 to 4 or something like that. Thereafter, they spend 2, 3 hours. Can they not do it from the house?
Yes.
So possibly all these things will come home, or possibly bank also can work in two shifts.
Correct.
The banking hours are over and they will close their bank office work from home. The next team will come and start banking hours. So like that, different work patterns will come. Overall, as a human being, we want to spend more and more time wherever we are comfortable. First place for comfort is house. Second is office. Third one, everybody has to compete.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
My next question is from Mr. Kumar. Since we are talking about real estate, what have your observations been? Where are more investments directed towards? Because if recent statistics are to be believed, 82% of NRI investments are towards ready to move in homes. And as you know, ready to move in homes have sort of been the winner this whole seasons for the many advantages that come with ready to move in homes as opposed to under construction flats. But besides ready to move in homes, have you seen any traction, say, in the domain of plots? Have plot purchases increased? And as Mr. Rao pointed out, a lot of people are looking at weekend homes at the peripheral areas. And we've also seen a rise in the peripheral areas primarily because of this semi-permanent arrangement that most of us have now. A lot of people feel, why stay in the suburbs or in the city center? Might well as shift to a slightly distant place closer to nature, and at lower prices you end up getting more space so you can accommodate more people and enjoy a relatively more blissful life than you would do in the city center. Having said that, Mr. Kumar, what are your observations? Is are NRI investments directed more towards ready to move in, and why ready to move in?
Um, Good evening, everyone. I'm looking at the panelist members and the and I see all the senior panelist members. But yeah, thanks Times Groups for giving us an opportunity to being a part of this wonderful session. So we looked at the recent trends from the NRIs. As you rightly mentioned, almost 70+% of inquiries have gone for from the NRIs. So technically, if you look at South Indian markets between Bangalore, Chennai, and Hyderabad, Bangalore, yes, there's a decent size of inventory available for ready to move in stocks. We have seen significant inquiries coming towards Whitefield and Whitefield markets. And coming to Hyderabad, between 2016 and 2019, we haven't seen any new launches because of demonetization or GST or RERA announcements. So whatever supply has been released between 2014 and 15, only those stocks have been absorbed. So technically speaking, in last 2 years, whatever existing inventory is there, so most of the inventory has been absorbed. So technically, we don't have a ready-to-move in stock available in Hyderabad in major prime markets. But majority of investors, especially from if you look at overseas investors between US, GCC countries, and Eastern country clients, the majority of them are from US, and they were eagerly waiting for new launches. And Telangana government, since we have impaneled our RERA body in 2017, more than 300 plus residential projects have been approved, and that's where the inquiries have come in aggressively for us. And in the recent trends during COVID moment or pre-COVID moment, because of existing infrastructure and the aggressive policies from the state government, a lot of new micro markets have been evolved. 4 years before or 5 years before, we never used to discuss about our micro markets like Kollur or the other Western Corridor side. But in the recent trends, a lot of transactions been happening towards plots, and new micro markets has been evolved. Markets like Kollur, Velimela, Bahanur, Lahari. So almost in Hyderabad, almost city has been stretched to 40 kilometer radius to the west side and also to the south side. So investments are very aggressive in plots. Adding to plots, the lot of investors are eagerly waiting for new launches. So between 2019 and 2021 first quarter, whatever new projects have been launched, gated residential projects in areas like Kondapur or financial districts, most of the projects have been almost sold. Almost 70% of their inventories have been sold during pre-launches itself. So there is huge demand size available both from local market and from the overseas markets for the new launches. And there are a lot of upcoming projects also are in planning. So technically, yes, we see almost 30-35% of our monthly business coming from the overseas investors and end users. Yes, it's going to become very aggressive market for Hyderabad and for Bangalore.
Is the demand slightly tilted towards residential townships and sort of gated communities as opposed to standalone buildings, Mr. Kumar?
Yeah, so there are few markets where NRIs are very much interested to park their money in. So they are not at all looking at residential apartments in city outskirts. No, they only want to park them in city centers, especially in financial districts within 5-10 kilometer radius. So whichever projects, whether it could be a standalone or a gated townships, so location specific products, NRIs are very keen. And since there's no major ready to move in stock available, any new launches within 10-15 kilometer radius from financial district are going to be very successful, because we have seen in last 1.5 years, every new launch is almost sold out. And we are seeing a lot of inquiries coming in for new investments, for new residential apartments, and also for plots.
More than central business districts and secondary business districts, as you were mentioning, do you think there is a role that existing and upcoming infrastructure plays in the decision-making process of the NRI investor / buyer? Can you add some more light on that?
Yes. So again, between three options, between Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Chennai, we have seen a trend of investments flowing into Bangalore before state formation, before Telangana state formation. That time, Hyderabad might be a last option for every investors to park in because of the ongoing Telangana agitation during that time. But after state formation, the confidence which government has been instilled to invite all the companies to park their investments here with the new policies like I pass and TSB pass to fast track the approval mechanism. So this has actually directly installed confidence to all the investors. We have seen a lot of investments, the global companies investments in Hyderabad. So this directly motivated all the investors to park in, and not just the fast track approval mechanism. So government is going in a very aggressive step compared to other cities. Developing infrastructure, since we have more land parcels, existing infrastructures like Outer Ring Road. So Outer Ring Road actually triggered the outskirts, other outskirts micro markets. Now, in the recent announcements of Regional Ring Road, people started exploring the micro markets, which is like 30-40 kilometers away. Also, people are open to move out of cities. So, as in continuation to Mr. Rao sir's input, yes, farm villas are pushing up very strong. The villa plots are selling very strong. Residential stocks are selling very strong. So technically, with the kind of policies which state government has been approved, so not just from IT or ITS, so inviting for aerospace parks or for pharma companies, in fact textile parks, a lot of things are going around in Telangana. And yes, Hyderabad will going to become a leading player in driving South Indian real estate market.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Viren, can I just add something?
Please.
Sure.
Yes, please
So
do.
just taking ahead from what Mr. Kumar said, why NRI investments or their interest is increasing, I think technology adoption has been one of the biggest thing, because in last 1.5, 2 years, we have just gone ahead in terms of adopting technology. Real estate has not been a very favorable adopter of technology. But now, since the first lockdown, there was not much choice. So we've seen a lot of online launches, AR, VRs, and digital and virtual tours being the new normal. So that is like a big facilitator for NRIs, because they are sitting far abroad. They don't know the sites. They can never come down probably to the site. So all the digital gadgets and the technologies helped a lot. So that's where I think now NRIs feel comfortable also. And the recently enacted the Tenancy Act, while we are still not on the rental housing market discussion, but the Tenancy Act is definitely going to give a big push to NRI investments, because now they will feel safe, because the primary aim is to buy a house for investment purpose. So renting out was a problem initially. So we'll maybe take up Tenancy Act at a later stage.
So do you think there are any other government policies that have driven this interest? Any key governmental policies that have influenced their decision to invest here?
No, I think the recent MTA is what I would comes to my mind, the Model Tenancy Act will, but we have not seen the impact of it now, because it's just been, the center's nod has just been given. We have to still see the impact, but definitely it's a very big move for the future investments that will come in from the NRIs.
Correct. No, and you made a very interesting point about technology adoption. I would like to ask Mr. Arthur this question. Obviously, we are talking about augmented reality. We are talking about virtual visits. We are talking about 3D trips and whatnot. So the classic site visits that we used to make has been replaced in this day and age for obvious reasons, one being safety. But do you think the overall Indian real estate market is very well equipped to make the complete transition from physical to digital and cater to a global audience of buyers? Mr. Arthur, what do you think?
So we all jumped into technology in a way and adapted it out of a crisis. But thankfully, it was a crash course of sorts. And, grandparents to grandchildren, everybody embraced their gadgets and the platform. So technology is now just a click away. But then if we want to really talk about technology, I think only large developers have made a significant difference there by actually showcasing their product in a much more transparent manner, bringing the product home. So what does a buyer need, whether he's locally unable to get out of his door and go for a site visit, or an NRI who's sitting overseas? I think it's about accountability, transparency, things like that, which are out of fashion in real estate. But of late, there's a lot of change there. RERA and even otherwise. I think developers of repute, you would always see them taking that extra step to bring in the confidence into their customers' heart and mind, both heart and mind. So it's the smaller developers who will still need to sell by showing, because one, their name isn't there. Second, what you say is not what you get unless you reach the site and you get to see, hey, some things are odd as against the narrative on the website or on a brochure. But large developers are taking this opportunity to, one, embrace and having their sales team become as digital as possible, and the customer interface has improved. So clearly that is there. But overall, technology is a big enabler, there is no doubt. And I feel, honestly, when normalcy sets in, a normalcy where there is a demand, there is proper supply, we will have two marketplaces. The physical space, which will never go out of fashion. After all, real estate is as real as it gets. And the digital space on which you can launch, you can have pre-bookings, you can have follow-ups, you can have project updates. Customers and investors all would love that. The real estate gets more transparent, more efficient. So why not technology? And the embracing will be really strong. So I would say that there are now two platforms available, and more opportunities thereby.
Mr. Gupta, there has been a 6% jump in NRI investments in FY 2021 as opposed to last year. So clearly, real estate has sort of survived the test of time. And although estimates could have been bleak, but the results have been quite encouraging. So do you see this trend to gain momentum, or do you think at some point it'll plateau after, say, the second wave completely comes to an end, or a third wave is also expected somewhere in the future? So what are your views? Where do you see NRI investments, if I have to paraphrase the question, say 1 year from now?
Sure, Viren. So I think, I will again do the same thing. I will substantiate the same thing with the data. Okay, so the data points say from FY19 onwards. So when we saw FY19, real estate as an asset class saw close to around infusion of around US dollars 11 billion, which jumped to approximately around 12.5 billion in FY20. And FY21, we saw it around 13.3, and the estimate says it will go up to around 14.9 to 15 billion as per business standards. So this continuous trend of increasing infusion of the money which is coming from the NRI markets. So one of the key things, okay, that I definitely see why it will continue is, I think one of the key things which we were discussing, which Virendra spoke about, Samson spoke about, that why NRIs are keen. One key thing I would like to add there is the arbitrage between a foreign currency vis-a-vis the Indian currency is continuously increasing. If you see the last 2 financial years, so if you see majority of your NRI buyers who comes from regions like GCC, US, okay, UK, European region, Southeast Asia, all these countries' currencies have seen an arbitrage ratio which has gone up from 3% up to 10%. Okay, so basically a person who is investing a value or a money who is investing right now, I mean vis-a-vis what he is investing a year before, the property itself is looking at an appreciation of 10%. Okay, so that is point number 1. Point number 2, if you see a lot of NRIs, because one of the good things about Indian real estate markets is NRIs still used to get to play on the home loans. As an NRI, if you have your OCI card, if you have your PIO card, or if you have your valid passport and your PAN card, nobody can stop you from taking a home loan. Okay, now one of the key drivers is, if you see the home loan trends in the last 18 months to 24 months, it is continuously declining. If you see 8%, 8.5%, 8%, 7.5%, 7%. Now we are at 6.7, 6.6% as well. So financial institution who has entered in DHFL, all these people have kind of gone up to that level of 6, 7, 6, 8%. It comes kind of borrowing the money. And one of the more important thing is, I think this thing is frozen. Am I audible? Viren, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I think
Yes,
my
yes.
this thing, yeah. So the network connection was an issue. So one of the key things which you also saw is in the market. So when the first COVID wave hit us, okay, the sales absolutely went down. But this was not the case in this quarter of FY22 because people were prepared this time. They knew there is something called a vaccination which is there, okay, and they knew that things are going to improve, okay, as a platform. So that is something which we have seen in the overall time. Yes, last year what has happened, if you see Q2, Q3 and Q4, huge pent up demand, extremely high pent up demand, and people during the time of COVID realized the importance of houses, and specifically houses inside an integrated enclave, which gives you all the sustainable facilities inside the township. So people understood that fact, that that's a requirement, that is no longer a luxury, that's a essential commodity to have. And people from rental perspective or people who were living far away from houses started looking for buying houses which are available at an affordable rate, which pushed up the pent up demand. This is the same trend which we are also seeing for NRIs who are returning home due to lot of different kind of issues which are there. People who are returning home or people who are trying to actually park their money in an asset, as Samson very clearly said, and Mr. Raidu also very clearly said that real estate as an asset class has its physical value, it's a tangible asset. So when you invest money, basically it's not only the money that you are investing which grows, you also get a physical asset at the end of the delivery period. So it's the rental return, the capital appreciation, and the emotional value of having that physical asset which is there. So basically, all together, all these things will definitely keep on combining, and we will see an uptrend in terms of continuous NRI, specifically demand from the NRI markets. And one thing which is going to happen is, I mean, the grade A, grade B, the top developers are going to get a lot of traction continuously, because that is something where the industry is getting consolidated to. So basically, due to the cash flow issues, due to the increasing cost of the capital, and due to the current scenario which has happened in between, a lot of smaller players are going out of business, which are either being acquired, okay, or kind of being taken over basically by the grade A developers, and they are kind of going ahead. So if you see the market share of the top 10 developers in India, in the last 2 years, it has almost jumped by 15 to 18%. Okay, so that is something which has happened. So this is a trend which is going to continue, and I see a very, very positive aspect out of it, that real estate, if it the so basically in a country like India, people kind of see the growth of the economy from 2 3 key sectors. One is real estate, one is automobile, and other is the BFSI. Okay, and I see a very, very potential growth, and all of us in this panel definitely kind of also agree to the fact that that is something which is going to come up in the next 1 or 2 financial year, which we can very easily see that.
Okay.
Can I come in once more?
Yeah, please do.
So Mr. Gupta's thoughts just brought me back to our discussion, why South India. So two points that come to my mind. One, South India there are a lot of organized, large, graded developers in South India, be it Bangalore, be it Hyderabad. So there is the chances of these being good, financially disciplined, accountable developers, which will attract NRI investments, is high. Second, as Mr. Kumar said, we have a lot of land availability still in Bangalore and Hyderabad. So you can develop these large integrated townships with modern amenities, because finally an NRI would want to invest in a property which suits his lifestyle. Suppose he comes back to
Correct.
town, So these options are not available across other countries, other cities of India, because I am based out of Mumbai, but I know the kind of houses that are being developed here. And if you want a large house like a Bangalore or a Hyderabad, you need to pay a good amount of premium.
Yeah.
I think the NRIs are attracted to South Indian markets.
And as you mentioned, Mumbai is also quite like landlocked, and
Absolutely.
we are grappling for more space, unlike South. But you made a very interesting point, Mr. Joshi, about amenities. So I'm going to ask this question to Mr. Rao. Have you seen any change in the demand by NRI investors for certain amenities? Because that has also so when we used to do stories a year and a half ago in Times Property, the demand clearly was a lot different for the amenities that investors looked at. Like today, obviously, as you guys mentioned, good Wi-Fi technology adoption, a gated, secure environment where security of their key family members is paramount, has been replaced by other things, like people probably earlier wanted access to malls or access to railway stations or transport infrastructure. Now, all that in the new normal has also undergone a massive transformation. So, Mr. Rao, what do you have to say about the key amenities that are in demand today?
I think I just add to what the panel said earlier. One of the reason that the demand continues to be good during COVID is the GST has been brought down to 5%. Earlier, despite all the rules and regulations, so there was not a clear picture about passing on the input tax credit to the buyer. So now it is a clear thing. You get to pay only 5% GST on the apartment purchases. So after this key change, the pent-up demand was coming out. And earlier, otherwise, people were waiting the project to be over because 18% GST was very high. I mean, 12% was very high. So this 5% GST is one very key factor that has created more demand. Number two is the low interest rates, continuing low interest rates, that is also there. Then in Hyderabad, especially the affordable housing projects took up only very recently, rather slightly earlier to the COVID, and during the COVID period only the launches of affordable housing happened. Then of course the RERA thing also has come into place. So overall, these are many factors that has improved the demand. Whether it is COVID or non-COVID, it has improved in the last 1.5 to 2 years. Of course, the credibility, the more and more developers are coming into the picture. Earlier, we don't have much choice in Hyderabad. In fact, you would have seen that many national players, they came to Hyderabad and went away also. Only 50% survived in Hyderabad environment for whatever reasons. So the local developers have more than filled such things. In fact, these people are also going there. Then another factor, particularly for Hyderabad, is the investments from Rayalaseema were, there is a competition for the investment from Rayalaseema. Some of it was going to Bangalore, some was going to Chennai. Now, because the land rates are shooting up, the returns are very higher. So these people are now attracted to Hyderabad. So these are some of the reasons. Even Pune also some demand was going. So this was arrested once the land rates have gone up. The TSB pass and I-pass, all these have been introduced. Well, amenities wise, Hyderabad, just like everywhere it is happening. But since our FSI permits more area to be allotted for amenities is a good thing. Instead of naming what are the amenities 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, instead of naming them, our people, I mean the projects in Hyderabad, you just compare the size of the clubhouse compared to the overall units being constructed. What is the size of clubhouse? If you see, that will be a good measure of the amenities rather than saying, no, there is a net cricket practice or there is some volleyball or a football, all these things. So just see the size of the clubhouse. It is coming 30,000, 40,000, even 70,000, 1 lakh square feet clubhouses. Can you imagine? In Mumbai or Delhi, can anybody make such clubhouses? So that itself is a measure of the amenities the Hyderabad market is able to give. I'm not saying credit should go to only the developer, it should go to the government also. The policy facilitated such an environment, such a feasibility of providing higher amenities. In fact, the parking also, another important factor for Hyderabad market is, despite the FSI, there is a very strict enforcement of the parking regulations. So that ensures that everybody gets a car parking place, a guest parking place is there. Then security-wise also, earlier all said and done, there was no proper security arrangement. We were only depending on some agencies and all. But high-tech in securities, just like the MyGate app and all that, they have also helped us overall to improve the market. So I would say maybe the Times can do a little bit of a survey about the size of the clubhouse compared to the number of units being done in various metros. and see who is scoring better. And of course, much more important thing is of the last 3-4 years, the so-called livability index and all these things are gaining popularity. Earlier, these
Absolutely.
things were not there. So if people, NRIs will look into all these things also. If the livability index is high, then better to invest in that. Of course, there is always, some of the people are more keen to their mother tongue land or motherland. That things, despite all these things, overall, Hyderabad is scoring livability, green percentage, neat and clean. How the city is being rated compared to others. So that way, the southern cities, I think definitely they are scoring better than other cities in India, southern metros. So this is helping us. And to again sum up, the area we are allotting towards the amenities facilities is much, much greater. That is drawing more and more people.
Thanks, Mr. Rao. And I completely agree because very recently we had done articles on Bangalore and Chennai scoring really high on the livability index. And for a discerning buyer like a non-resident Indian who is well-traveled, who's well-educated and extremely well-read, all these things do matter. And the modern day buyer is just not looking at convenience. He's looking at so much more. He is looking at building a lifestyle. He's looking at eco-friendliness. He's becoming extremely conscious about his choices, and he wants the purchases that he makes to reflect those choices. So is there anything else you would like to add, Mr. Kumar, on Mr. Rao's
Yeah.
point on how the NRI investors are also getting a lot more well-rounded when it comes to making a real estate purchase? Because listening to you experts, it's definitely a very well calculated, well thought out decision, not made on any impulse. Is there anything that you would like to add, Mr. Kumar?
So, adding to Mr. Rao sir's input, so basically, we've seen a trend or the demand coming in for the affordable stocks. Majority of amenities which have been provided in the high-end luxury properties. So the expectations for affordable products also been changed while designing this kind of products. So basically, one is to give higher carpet areas. So in Hyderabad, the standards is like 70, 71, 72. It never went below 70. High carpet areas. And two is smart homes is gaining momentum in affordable stocks also. So basically, customers want biometric access. They want, the firefighting system for safety and for treatment plans, water treatment plans. So all that, it's gaining momentum. And third is construction technology. So earlier, the developers used to use the traditional construction technology for these affordable stocks like low-rise buildings. Now everyone is expecting RCC structure, shear wall technology, which increases the lifespan of the structure. And four, yes, minimum of, as sir rightly mentioned, minimum of 60-70% of open space we give it only for amenities, on-ground amenities. So these are the basic expectations from the NRI customers and from the local customers. And due to COVID, so clients want us to design, a plan with having a office room or a study room. Under the super built up of 1200, 1400 sizes for starting size of apartments. So these are the latest expectations which we are listening from the customers.
Since you spoke a lot about technological introductions, say in the form of security systems or biometric trends, and even smart homes, do you think that NRI investors are also driving luxury sales?
Yes. So technically, NRIs, they're not limiting themselves to a certain product. So they are exploring every real estate product. So for a long-term investments, they're looking at plot as the right real estate investments, and they are very choosy between West market and South markets, looking at 3 to 5 years as an ROI. And two, for them to, while they want to return to India, so they want to look at the bigger size apartment, which is more of a luxury size. Anything about 2,500, 3,000 square feet apartments in central business district and nearer to financial districts. And also, villas is also gaining a lot of momentum in the secondary markets.
Mhm. So, Mr. Joshi, can it be safely proclaimed that it is a buyer's market, or we still have some time to cover before we make a very bold statement such as that?
Like, so it's completely an end users market for a moment. Yes, investors have started to come in now, and I was just going to add to what Mr. Kumar said on luxury market. So our team at Anurag has been extremely busy. The luxury segment has been doing really well. You know,
Mhm.
being COVID had no impact on the HNIs and UHNIs. In fact, they got the best deals now. So while emotionally there was a net worth erosion, there nothing happened on their lives. You know, in the other segments here, mid segment on an affordable segment, their lives and jobs and all were at stake. So to answer your question, yes, we still think it's an end user driven market. Investors have just started to come in. So it's some time that we will see, and we'll not go back to the crazy days of 2005, 6 ever.
Yeah,
They're gone.
but it's also slightly weird because a lot of HNI, the ultra high net worth individuals, they actually belong to places like Mumbai and Delhi. If you see the reports and stats, but it's also so interesting to notice that they are loyalties are more towards the southern markets, especially the leading three, the pack of Bengaluru, Chennai, and Hyderabad. So, what is it? What gives them an edge, barring the obvious ones such as lack of land, etc.? What is it that they have an edge, and what about these, especially these three metros, are luring the NRI investors, according to you?
So you mean these three cities which we are discussing, right? The south.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think we covered it previously also. The kind of appreciation that these cities would give, the good base that they have. So as Mr. Gupta said, in a range of 5,000-6,000 rupees, you would get an apartment. The large size of apartments. So in Mumbai,
Yes.
if you ask me, a 1,200 square feet carpet, it's a luxury. We have never seen such apartment in the heart of the city. I mean, you have
Yes.
5 crore, 10 crore plus for that. So that is one. And also the share of organized developers being very, very high. Mumbai NCR was a fragmented market. It continues to be a fragmented market. There are
Correct.
small developers, the fly-by-night operators, and a lot of people have burnt hands. Unlike in the south where there are organized players, of course, there are local developers, but the kind of repute they have in their fraternity is as good as the organized or the listed ones. So that is where a lot of UHNIs want to park their money in south markets also.
Vivian,
Okay.
may I add a point here?
Yes, please, please.
See, if you see the track record of the metros,
Mm-hmm.
whether it is Noida, Greater Noida, MMR, compared to South, what is the deployment of Swami Fund so far? It is an index of the performance of these metros against the performance of the MMR and NCR. So that's one index is enough to say the history and track record of the developers and the maturity and confidence these three metros command and demand overall. I think I said
Mm-hmm.
more than enough.
Yes, yes. So, on a concluding note, uh, I would like all of you all to answer the question, just one question, as to if there is an NRI investor calling you right now, what are the three things you're going to tell him or her with regards to why investing today is a great time and why real estate is an absolute safe, the only appreciating asset? What is it that you're going to tell an NRI investor today, considering there are so many, there's a pandemic happening, there's the economical factors taking place, and there are also lifestyle changes constantly evolving as we speak. So let's assume that there is a phone call that comes, and how are you going to tell them? What exactly are you going to tell a NRI investor? Or why can't we can start with Mr. Arthur?
Okay. All right. Thanks, Viren. I think apart from the points that we have shared and covered, I would ask the investor the NRI, what his investment criteria is, and actually guide him, advise him into the attractions and the lesser problems of real estate in south of India because of the organized play, the demographics. It's like a mini India in itself where things are new. From your airports to infrastructure, it's brand new. It's an India in the making where you can see privatization of airports, superiority of infrastructure, something that some of the larger cities and older metropolitans do not get to see as much. There is more density, but here there is more infra and real estate kind of follows there. At least that's the case for Hyderabad. Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore constitute those anchors, whether it be manufacturing, automobile, service sector, government, public sector, and finally the private sector like the ever-growing IT sector. These are the growth drivers for real estate. And when they do well, you know that if there is supply of land and there is a constant demand of job creation, there is going to be a real estate spurt. And in that, over a decent period of time, you would see growth curve across asset classes. And I would say that these cities also offer beyond the traditional office and housing. There is warehousing, there is data center, there is new asset classes that are emerging, which means that if you are a discerning investor and depending on your wallet size, there is land, there is greenfield, there is brownfield, there is ready assets, there are rent yielding assets, there are larger participation, and real estate for many investors is also a play of business, which means they're not just consuming, but they are coming together as a fraternity and investing on at a land stage also. So for those reasons, I would say they can continue to look at it. Not everything is hunky-dory, but these are a good time because the markets are softer. The seller is more recipient. He is more willing to hear a genuine customer. So if you have real money, you really want to put your money down, you will get a sweet deal.
Mr. Kumar?
Yes. So especially for NRIs is the right time because dollar value has gone up. New launches, because a lot of new launches are in place, so customers can get their the best prices right now, and interest rates are completely low. And this is a time where the investors need to look at those markets where which will appreciate, which has got a lot of scope of appreciation, since Bangalore, Chennai, and Hyderabad is going considerably fastest growing cities. So all these three markets have got highest opportunity for getting the highest capital appreciation in a period of time. So this is the right time to invest.
Sorry. So
Yeah.
from my side, the submission is that one thing what Arthur said very correctly is, it's a far more structured market because being worked in Bombay, Pune, NCR, all the markets, and Bangalore, what I understand is it's a far more structured market compared to what we are looking at. And one thing, which I'm telling to all our NRI buyers from an individual learning perspective is, when we were hit with the first wave of pandemic, we saw that all the developer fraternity came up with the best possible offerings, whether it's price, whether it's payment flexibilities, or whatever the kind of deal that you are looking at. We saw in Q3 and Q4, the prices actually went up a little bit in cities, southern cities, specifically Chennai, Bangalore, and Hyderabad. Now, if you see in the last Q4 and Q1, steel and cement prices have gone up, the indexes have gone up.
Absolutely.
Right. So now the thing is, once this pandemic wave is over, okay, so till now the developers are again offering some of the best deals which are available in the market. Once this impact is little bit over in the next 1 quarter or so, you will again see the prices will go up because the developers will be looking at recovering the lost margins, which will be
Correct.
actually, they will be losing because of the sheer fact the steel and cement prices are going up. So that is why one of the key things is this is right now the right time before the developer gets into, presses the accelerator and kind of increases their prices. This is something which I am telling you from the personal experience, this is going to happen. This is like the upcoming future which is going to happen. So people should look at buying, people should look at investing the money right now. You have the best possible interest rates, you have the best possible arbitrage which is available, which we already spoken about. And of course, in terms of the branded developers across the markets of Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Chennai, they give you a portfolio of product which is one and which is for all, basically. So you have right from a ticket size of 30 lakhs up to a ticket size of 5, 6, 10 CR, everything is available, okay, for you. It depends on you, what is the kind of investment potential that you are looking at. So that is something which is, which will be my submission to all of my, NRI friends and investors who are looking at kind of buying. Okay, look for a good grade A developer, look at the track record, look at the delivery record of that particular developer and invest wisely. So that is something which is going to be critical.
Yeah, and also in extension to what you said, Mr. Gupta, I think the real estate market was way more well prepared this year to fight the pandemic as opposed to it was last year, due to which the kind of mayhem that happened last year, wherein launches were affected and there were certain months where sales were almost zero. The situation and the scenario this year wasn't all that bad. If you see, if statistics have to be believed, and also the stamp duty cut and all the other benefits that the government doled out also worked in the favor. But I think the key message that Mr. Gupta you're trying to say is that do not postpone your home purchase decision, because now is the right time.
That's correct.
Mr. Rao, any concluding note?
Yes, see, the southern cities give an environment that is almost equivalent to what they have in international cities, semi-urban and green environment. So we are blessed with such a thing. For example, in Somadura, they have a project near the golf course, giving greenery. And here we have a project around the KBR Park. We have a lot of 84 villages where residential and commercial activity is forbidden because to protect the lakes and water bodies. So we have a lot of green space available, number one. Number two, even in the thick of places, because our FSI policy is such, we offer, as earlier said, nearly 70% open spaces in high-rise buildings. That is adding to attraction. So to attract NRIs, we say we give a competitive environment like what you are living in US or Europe, number one. Number two, the social infrastructure in both and all the three cities here is comparable to international standards in terms of medical facilities, in terms of educational facilities, in terms of research also, even parks and other things. We have well taken care in the three cities. Then appreciation, as everybody said, it is happening in these three places comparatively well. Number four, of course, you asked only three. Number four is the dependable track record of these cities as such compared to. No, I am not saying that 100% developers are like that, but overall, these three cities have a better track record in terms of dependability of the developers and position. And of course, the emerging technology will help us to improve the delivery timelines as well. So overall, I think these 3-4 things are going to attract, and these are the three things which we will impress upon the NRIs to invest in these places. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Joshi, you get the last word.
Yeah,
Go
I mean,
for it.
which ideally means everything is covered. So I had three things on my mind. One
Yes,
which
please.
Mr. Gupta rightly covered is depreciating rupee. So that arbitrage advantage that you get right now as an NRI, you will never get.
Yes.
The all-time best rates, so we are at a very, very good rates per se. So if you are looking to invest, do it right now. For end use, for investment, this is the right time. And last but not the least, overall increasing transparency in the sector. So be it RERA, be it demonetization, GST, or the MTA, the entire ecosystem is trying to make the sector transparent. So do away, shed its image of being an opaque and a business where nobody is accountable. So this is a big move, and you have seen other sectors like a telecom and even the stock markets benefiting once the regulator is in place. So overall, it's a very pro-business environment in the country, and NRI should definitely take advantage of this situation because the transparency is just going to increase from here. So that's
Well,
Vivian, I think you have to tell one point. the auction in Hyderabad about 90 acres in prime localities,
Yeah.
it is going to be a very turning point. I think better people buy even before this auction. That is one last point I want to make. I think the success of this auction will definitely put us one step ahead of other places.
Well, before the session started, I wasn't hoping that we are going to cover so many various facets and aspects of NRI investments. And I think the major key away of this discussion was that if you are a fence sitter, especially an NRI fence sitter, now is the time to make the plunge, because the time right now is ripe and apt to make the transition from being a tenant or an onlooker or a cautious buyer to a homeowner. And the pandemic, obviously, and the various economic factors have re-emphasized the need to have a safe place to live and to call home. And we started off this conversation by talking about the emotional attachment Indians have to their villages back home, to their homelands, to their hometowns. So the pandemic was sort of bittersweet in teaching this lesson that if you're looking at real estate and you want to make that emotional come wise decision of investing, now is the time. So jump on and take the plunge. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every member on this panel for giving us their valuable time and to bring in the best to discuss interesting insights and guidelines and suggestions that you've made. I'm pretty sure for any investor, not just NRIs looking at this, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of takeaway for them. So thank you so very much. And I'm looking forward to a lot more panel discussions of this nature. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everyone.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.